Hello, Facebook. Hello, everybody. Good evening. How are you all doing today? I wanted to just come on and chat a little bit this week. Last week was a busy week, so I didn't get to come on. Last week, I did do my workshop, and it was very exciting. The first step to the workshop, we talked about forgiving. And so I wanted to continue to talk about forgiving this week because when we are choosing ourselves, when we are wanting to change or want different for ourselves, it is necessary to deal with unforgiveness. We don't always like to deal with unforgiveness because it reminds us of the pain. It reminds us of what we have dealt with and who has hurt us. And just it reminds us of all the trauma and all. And so sometimes we like to just bury it all inside. I want to just say hello in the comment. We bury it all inside and we don't deal with the situation. We don't acknowledge it. We don't face up to it. And so it wears on us and it causes us to deal with our emotions in such a way. Blessings, thank you for coming in. It causes us to deal with our emotions. And so we really need to deal with unforgiveness, the unforgiveness that we carry in our heart. We want to make sure that we deal with it and we face it. And so I just want to talk about the importance of unforgiveness. Um, like I was saying, first we need to acknowledge. We need to acknowledge our pain point. We need to understand the person that really did it. You know, sometimes the other person is dealing with things and don't know how to handle, or sometimes it could be so many things when you want to talk about looking at the root cause of why a person choose to hurt you, why a person choose to lie on you, why a person allowed this to happen in the relationship. You know, where did this come from? How did it happen? I thought they loved me. I thought that this was forever. It's so many things that we need to acknowledge. It's so many things that we need to deal with and address when things happen in our friendship or in our relationship. We need to be honest about it. We need to be true to ourselves. We need to be true to the other person. And I talks about being true to yourself and choosing you. Be true to yourself. Don't walk around in unforgiveness and not deal with the issues. You know how many people have walked around with unforgiveness and they're still in the same place? They're still dealing with that hurt, that pain. They talk about it all the time in all of their conversations. Those are the first thing they want to talk about. When such and such did this, I remember this and I remember that. And then so when some of us sometimes we go to our loved ones or people that we consider our friends and we want to talk about being hurt and somebody hurt us, and you talk to a person that is still hurting, that have not acknowledged or dealt with their brokenness, their pain and their hurt, they talk to you and suggest through their pain because they have not yet dealt with it. How can they deal with it with you? How can they tell you how to handle your brokenness or your hurt, your pain, your frustration with someone when they're still holding grudge from 3 years ago, when they're still holding grudge from 6 years ago? So sometimes we need to be careful when we go to a person and wanting to vent or wanting suggestions or wanting them to give us what's the word I'm looking for? Give us their opinion on how they feel or how to handle what we're dealing with when they never have dealt with theirs or they dealt with it in such a way it left trauma and it left you in a state of bitterness and angry and hurt and pain that you not yet dealt with it. And so now you are ministering or talking to or suggesting from hurt and pain. We really need to talk to someone that has been delivered, that knows how to forgive and have done that and in that space. So that's why it's important that we need to acknowledge your role. Sometimes we don't realize that the role that we play caused a lot of the problem or the things that occur to happen. Sometimes we push a person to a limit, we push a person to a place. And so we need to be careful with that. Not only always pointing fingers, talking about their role, sometimes what are your role? What were your role that you played? Hello, thank you for coming in. I don't have my other phone. I don't see any body, all the people that is on, but hello, thank you for coming in. And I am talking about forgiveness is key. And for those that do not know me, my name is Lawana Kofor. I am your solutionist coach. I help women to find a solution to their problem, their obstacle, their giant, whatever they're facing, and to deal with self-limiting belief and to walk in confidence and to live in freedom. And in doing so, that is one thing that we need to do is forgive. We need to forgive that person that hurt us, that person of the past, that person that has caused us the pain, so that we can be free. If we don't acknowledge it, if we don't acknowledge our role, okay, I could have caused some of this to happen, or because I did this, this did happen. If you don't acknowledge it and you always playing the blame game and blaming somebody else and pointing fingers to somebody else, that is not healthy on your end, because we need to hear a person out. We need to understand why. We need to forgive. But when we forgive, I want to say this: sometimes when we forgive, doesn't mean that you have to stay in friendship. Doesn't mean that you have to stay in relationship. Doesn't mean that you have to stay. But you need to forgive them so they won't continue to have the power that they have over you. Sometimes it's controlling. Sometimes it's manipulation and things like that. When we stay in a relationship that is not healthy, forgiving is not only for them, it's mainly for you to be free. It's mainly for you to give up all rights to them controlling you, and all the little things, the words that they have said in your mind that you deal with, that you play in your mind, listening to what they said and what they how many names they called you. You know, they called you everything but the name, the child of God, you know, and dealing with things like that. And you put all of those things in your thought process and you leave it in your mind. And so it gets in your mind and now it enters into your heart. And so now you're angry and you're bitter because he said this, she done this, and all that. And so you walk around with all that angry, not dealing with it. And so it is important to deal with unforgiveness. And two, we Ephesians, let me get my Bible. I left it, my book. In Ephesians 4:31, it say, let our bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. Why is it important to let? Why would the Bible tell us to let all? It said to let all bitterness, wrath, and anger, and clamor, and slander be put away. Why is it necessary to let all the drama, all the chaos, all the negativity, all the gossip, all of those things that are contaminating your heart? Why is it important to let it go? I want to ask you, are you tired of being sick and tired? Are you tired of being weighed down with the past, with the hurt, with the trauma, with the wounds, with the stripes? Are you tired? Why are you still there? Because you're still holding on to who did it, how it happened, how many times, different relationships. So many things keep us in bondage. So many things keeps us in a bad place because we won't deal with it. And so it's important because the Bible says in Ephesians 4:31 that we need to let all of that stuff go because it's not good for our heart, especially when we are believers, when we believe that Christ is in us. And the Bible talks about how blessings, how we can't walk around with those things in our heart. And then when God speaks on how we need to forgive so that he can forgive us. We don't want to forgive our neighbor, our brethren, our friend, our mate, our spouse. But then we want to go to God and ask God to forgive us. Hey, Mom, thank you for coming on, and ask God to forgive us. But we can't forgive that person that hurt us. But we say that we love Christ. So when I start reading this and looking at this, and I don't want to go back into it because I want to come back on tomorrow to talk about it, but it's very interesting in the beginning of chapter 4, and then it coming on up to why we need to get rid of the unforgiveness because it's necessary. We can't be a believer and continue to walk around in unforgiveness and say that we love Christ and say that He lives in us, and that's not who He is. And He talks about how we should have a pure heart. That's why we should pray every day, asking Him to create in us a clean heart and renew the right spirit that is within us. Because we can't have our heart in any type of way and going and asking Him for prayer and wanting Him to honor what we're asking. How can we delight in Him and we have all of these things harboring in our heart, the bitterness, the hatred, the slander, gossip, evil talking. And when we talk about malice, it's the intention or the desires to do evil. Because you're hurting, you want that person to hurt. But that's not how we want it supposed to be as a believer. As a believer, we don't want that person to hurt. As a person that love, you don't want that person to hurt. If you have true love in your heart and Christ really dwell in you, then you don't want someone to suffer. That's why Christ died, so we wouldn't have to. But we choose not to make decisions, and we choose not to stand on the word of God. So it keeps us in an unhappy place, in an unhappy state. And then every month, every year, we're adding and adding and adding. Why? Because sometimes shame and guilt keep us from dealing with the unforgiveness because we are shamed or we are embarrassed or we're guilty. But we're not going to tell the role that we played. But we're going to point fingers and say they did this and they did that. But why? Did they have a reason? Did you play a role in it? Let's be honest. Let's talk real talk, our choosers. Let's talk about it today. What are you harboring in your heart? What unforgiveness are you holding on to? What grudge are you holding on to from 5 years ago? That person that hurt you and they have not yet said they were sorry. That person that damaged you and you trusted them with all your heart. What is it that you need to let go today so that you can have a peace of mind, so that you can be free and not in prison in your mind and in your heart? It's time to deal with the issues that are in the heart, the things that you are harboring in your heart from past hurt, past year history, so that you can live a happy life, so that you can be free and so that you can love again. Just because you've been hurt does not mean that you don't need and can't love again, that someone won't truly love you for who you are. But we need to begin to deal with some things. And tomorrow I'm going to come back and talk a little bit more about Ephesians, beginning of Ephesians. But I wanted to talk about the importance of forgiveness so that you can be free, so that you can walk into the abundance, to walk into everything that God has given you. Paul said that it's important to let all those things go that are bothering you so that you can receive the things of God, the things that He has for you. We have to begin to deal with some things that are in our heart. Even that person that hurt us, even that person that lied to us, that was not faithful to us, we got to let it go. And sometimes people say, I forgive, but I don't forget. You not yet have forgiven. The only time we're bringing it up is a testimony to help someone. And we do it with peace. We're not doing it with evil or hurt or any pain. That's when you know that you have truly forgiven someone. When you can talk about it and it's not affecting you. When you can say hello to that person. You don't have to continue to be friends. You don't have to stay in that relationship, especially if it's unhealthy for you. Forgiving is taking control, taking your life back. being empowered in your life. When you're choosing you, you're coming to terms as, I know who I am. I know what I want. I know that I am enough, that I am worthy and I am loved. Just because you've been hurt several times doesn't mean that you can't find the right love. I was one that was hurt so many times. I was one that was always fighting in battles, having a battle after battle, and was so tired of always fighting, something always happening. It always an issue with somebody, some person, something on my job, off my job, in my neighborhood. Growing up in the hood wasn't easy. You had people at you all the time for no reason. You had battles that you always had to fight, or you're always finding, figuring out why this person don't like me or why this person did this to me. And then you harbor all that pain in your heart and you're just hating people. And you hear women say, I don't like women. I don't want to be around a bunch of women. I don't like being in a room with a bunch of women. I don't like working with a bunch of women. Some of them say, I hate men because they have been hurt so many times and done wrong so many times that they hate men. But that's because we walk in unforgiveness. We don't learn how to forgive. And it doesn't mean that you're a punk. It doesn't mean that you're weak because you don't forgive. Because you forgive or because you let go, doesn't mean that you're weak. It means that you're strong. It means that you're the bigger person. So let's deal with some things that we have been harboring and holding on because of Ephesians 4 saying, let all bitterness and clamor and slander and evil talking, evil doing, malice, wrong motives. Let's deal with it. Let's acknowledge it. Let's face it and let it go so that we can have joy and happiness, so that we can be free. Oh my God, so that we can be free. Don't you want to be free? Aren't you tired of dealing with this thing? I know how it feels. I understand what you're going through, what you're dealing with. So if you want to make changes, if you want to do something, decide today what you are going to do, how you're going to do it. And it's necessary to do it today. You can start today. Deal with what is affecting you in your heart. That you're so cloudy that you don't even know how to move forward. And I know that it's not a good feeling to wake up day in and day out dealing with the same situations that weigh you down, that you don't want to talk about because you're embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. Let's get past the embarrassment, the shame, and the guilt. And let's talk about what is affecting you today so that you can be free, so that you can experience a breakthrough and be healed, so that transformation can take place. The Bible says, be ye transformed by the renewing of the mind. Let's start renewing the mind. Let's talk about some things. Let's get it off our heart. Out of the heart flows the issues of life. Let's deal with the issues of life. Let's get some things off our heart and let's deal with unforgiveness so that we can be free and experience a breakthrough. And so that you can live in joy and have peace. So again, my name is Lawana Kofer. I wanted to come on to talk about unforgiveness. Forgiveness is key. Be free today, our choosers. Choose you today. Choose to be free. Choose to have a peace of mind. Choose to have joy, because the joy of the Lord is your strength. And so we can't do it by ourselves. We need the joy of the Lord. We need the Lord to give us the strength to deal with and to deal with the unforgiveness. I don't care about they have not said they are sorry, but don't let that hold you down. Don't let that keep you in bondage. Don't let that stop you from going after your joy and your peace and having the peace of mind. I'm telling you, it's nothing like having the peace of mind. Is nothing like having the peace of mind. Is nothing like learning how to deal with your circumstances and your situations, your giants, your battle, so that you can have peace and you don't have to forever stay in that same place. Every time you see that person, your skin crawling, your chest get big because you're on guard. No, that's not how God wanted to be. That's not how it needs to be. So let it go today. Let's deal with it today. If you want some help, you inbox me. Let's chat about it. Send me a message and say, it's me. And let's deal with the unforgiveness that is in your heart so that you can experience a breakthrough and be free. Remember, Paul said, let's get rid of all the bitterness, all the slander, the evil talking, and all the malice and all those things. Let's get rid of it. Let's deal with it. Let's deal with it. So 2020 can be a fresh, good year. I don't know. You may feel like 2020 has dealt you a bad hand, has not been good to you, but it's some good things. If you want to be real about it, it's some good things that have came out of 2020, getting us ready for 2021, so we can just run into 21 with everything that 2020 has taught us. Some of this thing that we have dealt with, COVID, us being away from people, it's allowed us to deal with some things and confront some things and to realize who we really are and some things that we may need to face if you're really honest about it. Because some of us had to be around some people that we was not used to being around day in and day out all day long. Some of us got a break sometimes when we did go to work or when our children were in school, but some of us having to stay around our children and our mate for hours, and for weeks and months. Some of us have came out of that, but some of us are still sitting around, and it have taught you a lot of things if you want to be real about it. If you have acknowledged a lot of things that you may have need to deal with within yourself. So let's deal with it. Let's not point the finger. Let's look at ourselves and um, handle and fix and work on the things that we may be challenged and faced with ourselves, feeling that we're not enough, feeling that we don't know how to love ourselves because we're always giving the love to everybody else. So you don't know how to be kind to you. You don't know how to be good to you. You don't know how to say, I love you and you're beautiful just the way that you are. And you are telling the truth and you're being real with it. My name is Lawana Cofer. You have an awesome day. God bless you. I love you. Remember, be true to yourself, helping you to come from hurt to being healed. And it's all about you. You are important. You are special. You are special and you are important and you are enough. God bless. Have a good night. Thank you for listening. Thank you to all the replayers. See you guys tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Thank you. Bye bye.